want to go ahead and talk about this Carlos King and Lenithia Leaks interview part 2. It was quite interesting, so let's go ahead and do a recap. It started off with her talking about the unfair treatment. The reason why she decided to publicly go against Bravo is because she felt like for a second now there was unfair treatment. She went ahead and said that the other women felt as though there was some unfair treatment. However, they did not want to come out. So, yes, I was getting tangled. So listen, she said that the other women, they felt as though that there was some unfair treatment, but she was the only one to really come out and really publicly say it and stuff like that. She went ahead and said that, she fought for the other girls for years. However, when she was going through her public spar with the network, she was saddened by the fact that none of the women onto the show, the cast members, stood up for her. Now listen, there are 2 reasons why none of the ladies stood up for Nene Leakes, and that's because Nene Leakes has advocated for some of these women to be fired. She did it with Portia, talking about who should we get rid of? Freaking fraud. Cynthia, she's not really bringing anything. Candy, she's so boring. She's this, she's that, she's forgettable. But actually, she said that Candy is unforgettable, which is a compliment. But she said that Candy is forgettable. She's forgettable. We can do without this person. We could do without that person. Good night. Go to sleep. It's late in Atlanta, even though New York and Atlanta is the same time zone, Nene. So here's the thing. That is one reason why nobody ever wanted to stand up for you, because you were kind of very vocal in your opinions about who should not be on this platform. Right? Phaedra as well. She always said that she didn't understand why Phaedra was on the platform and this, that, and the third. And you can disguise it as your opinion all you want to. But at the end of the day, no one wants to take away your opinion. However, when your opinion is perpetuating a narrative that someone should not be on a platform in which they get paid, that's not going to go over well for the person who's on the receiving end. So they're not going to want to stand up for you and advocate for you when you're in this public sparring with the network. But that also being said, nobody wanted to, publicly be by your side when you are actively trying to boycott the network. You are actively trying to, get people not to watch. You're trying to affect their business model, affect what they have going on. You can't have a TV network if nobody watches, and you were trying to get Bravo fans and Bravo viewers to not watch the show. Why would they be okay? Why would the network be okay with that? And why would the women who are on these shows be okay with that? Why would they join you in that? Now you have Lisa Rinna, and I don't know if this is different, because for me, I believe that Nene Leakes piggybacked off of a movement at the time. She made a personal issue and generalized it and attached it to the Black Lives Matter movement, in my opinion. And I'm not saying that Bravo is not racist. I'm not saying that NBC Universal is not racist. But I think she attached her personal issues to a bigger cause. And I think in many respects, it did not equate. It did not match. It did not gel. Right? And so in today's time, you have the writer's strike, in which you have people striking and boycotting and talking about, the compensation that talent is receiving on some of these shows, which has kind of bled into this conversation about reality TV stars, because a lot of reality TV stars are not a part of these unions. Reality TV shows are considered a different category, a different class, in which these people do not receive any sort of residual. So now you have Bethany Frankel talking about the people could strike, and, the reality TV stars should stick together if they want to one day hope to, gain some money off of the back end, because these networks are profiting off of these shows for years and years and years and years and years. And meanwhile, you get paid once and that's it. Okay. The network, they get paid 1 billion times and the talent only gets paid once. So she's talking about like maybe forming a union and this, that, and the third and whatever. And now you have Lisa Rinna, who's a former star of Beverly Hills, talking about how, the girls need to boycott BravoCon if they want to stick together and earn residuals in the future. So I feel like those women, are they attaching their personal issues to a bigger cause? I'm not sure. But from my understanding, Nene's lawsuit had nothing to do with residuals and compensation for reality TV stars. Like, her movement that never correlated for me. She may have said something about it. I remember Nene talking about how she wasn't getting paid for the memes. People are using my likeness and I'm not getting paid for it, which I don't believe Bravo is getting paid. When I go to social media and use a meme, I don't think Bravo gets paid for that. And thankfully, she re-recorded her line, bling, 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 bitches is mad. She should have trademarked it or something. Right? I thought they was using the audio from the show, but apparently Nene went into the studio, re-recorded her line, bling, 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 bitches is mad. Therefore, hopefully she gets a writer credit. I hope Bia put her as a writer onto the song. I should. Let me look it up. Did Nene get credited as a writer? That way, if you re-record the line, NBC Universal doesn't make a dime off of it. But if you use the audio from their show, they then make residuals off that song. So I'm glad they re-recorded it. I think it's called Millions. Let's go to Genius. Who wrote the song? Blame, blame, blame. Bitches is mad. Ha 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 ha. Okay, she's on the writing credits. Bia, Nene Leakes, Aziz the Sheikh, and Tim Nehan. I know that's right. You better get that residual check, Lenny the Alex. I know that was a smart business move. Because I'm like, dang, I hope they didn't use the audio from the actual show, because then they're paying Bravo. That was smart. Hey, Nene, even though I don't think people are listening, are y'all listening to that song? I ain't heard one person listen to the song, but maybe it's a slow burner. You know, a song that don't start off as popular and then it becomes popular. Yeah, maybe it's one of those. So, you know, the song may not stream that well. If people don't stream it, if people don't buy it, then, you know, of course you're not going to make any money off of it. But at least she's a writer onto the song. Okay, great for Nene. Moving right along. So, yeah, how do y'all feel about it? Do you feel like it's different when Bethany and Lisa Rinna are wanting the girls to strike in order to create a union for the reality TV stars versus Nene? To me, Nene never talked about a union or compensation or residuals. To me, Nene, it was always like, oh, you know, they're giving me less and less episodes and the white girls can do this, but I'm the black girl and I can't do this and this, that, and the third. It was always kind of like, child, what the hell? I don't know if there's racism happening. You know, we do live in, you know, white America, and in corporate, you know, of course, there are systems in place and institutions and they're inherently racist. So, yeah, does racism come into play when we talk about these things? Absolutely. But to me, she always just had a personal issue, because any of the other black girls, they'll tell you and they'll say, I did not have those experiences. And so in order to fit it into a lawsuit, she ended up packaging it as, I guess, a hostile work environment, and they retaliated against me because I spoke out and said this, that, and the third, okay? So y'all let me know how y'all feel about the situation in the comments down below. She said that the network told her when they offered her, when she was negotiating for season 13, they said that they offered her a guarantee of 6 episodes, and she felt like that was trash, and she wanted to get an answer as to why she was only being offered 6 episodes, and they said, because you're unhappy. And that is some tea that I don't think that we knew before this interview with Carlos King. So shout out to Carlos King. Now, how was Nene unhappy? Well, we have to remember, we have to take ourselves back into the time where she where we were. And so I believe her last season, I think, was season 12, if I'm not mistaken. But even before season 12, we had the season 11 reunion, and season 11 was my favorite season. That was the season we had Tanya. That was the season we had Marlo versus Eva. That was the season where they went to Miami to support Nene. That was the season where Portia got engaged and pregnant by Dennis. I love my favorite season of the show by far. What is going on with this damn background? The fuck? So anyways, listen, but remember at that reunion, she basically was friends with nobody. She said, fuck Eva, keep licking bottoms to continue to be on top. She said, fuck Portia. She did not give her a gift for the baby shower. Okay, she said, fuck you, and those flowers. She brought on Tanya, but then her and Tanya fell out for whatever reason, and then Tanya became Portia's best friend. She didn't really have an issue with Shamari, but she wasn't really all that great friends with Shamari. So the only friend she had onto the show was Marlo, and Marlo wasn't even a full-timer. So she wasn't really friends with anyone. And then when season 12 came around, remember, she was on an apology tour because she wasn't friends with anybody. And that's the season where I think there was at some sort of winery, and Portia was like, oh my God, I missed you. And then Nene was like, I missed you. And then Portia was like, it was so hard without you. And then Candy went on to her speak on it, saying that Portia was the main one trying to ice Nene out. The tea, honey, the tea. Portia was the main one talking about we don't need to film with Nene. We need to ice Nene out. We need to teach Nene a lesson. We need to do this. And so we're all on one accord. And then all of a sudden we make it to the winery, and you talking about it was so hard without you, and you crying and boo-hooing, and your mascara is running off. Chile, Portia, was you're trying to ice your sis out after she tried to save you after the season 5 reunion. What's the real tea? What's the true tea? All right, so anyways, she was on an apology tour because nobody was fucking with her. Nobody was her friend. That's when she had to contract Yvonne to be her only friend. And then at the end of that season, Yvonne didn't even want to fuck with her. Because quiet as it's kept, the snake is Nene and Yvonne. The snake is your man. The snake is your man. Okay, let me calm down. So listen, the network said after that, you seem unhappy. So we're going to give you a slight break, and we're going to offer you a 6-episode guarantee, yada, yada this and yada, yada that. And Nene didn't like that. She did not take it. And so that was that. So y'all let me know how y'all feel about that situation in the comments down below. She was phased out. I think they just didn't want to pay her. You're unhappy. You're not friends with any other girls. Why are you on a show and you're not friends with anybody? And Portia being my favorite, I used to watch the show. I felt like there were multiple times where Portia would fall out with everybody. And it's like, Portia, girl, what is you doing? You cannot fight with everybody. You cannot fall out with everybody. How do you expect to be a part of an ensemble cast about a group of friends if you're not friends with anybody? And they love to tell Portia's not a great friend, and she's selfish and she only thinks about herself. The same applies to everybody else. Nene, how do you expect to be on a show about a group of friends and you're not trying to be friends with nobody? That's dumb. You isolating yourself from everybody is dumb. If you want to stay on the show, that's dumb. Carlos goes, so if you had to talk to Andy right now, what would you say? And so she turned to the camera and started saying stuff like, oh, I heard you had 2 children. Congratulations, this, that, and the third. But then she goes on to say that I wish I could find my way back to you. She wishes there was a way to reconcile with Andy Cohen. And here's the thing. Is it possible? Yes. Never say never. If somebody, as a white man, listen, I don't know how I can say this. Let's take Nene and Andy Cohen out of the situation. You and your friend, you and your friend, y'all have a altercation and y'all fall out. And then that friend then goes on to social media, Facebook and Twitters and Threads and YouTubes and whatever else, TikTok, and started making content about you, started posting about you, basically trying to destroy your character. Did she not call Andy a racist? Why you want to be so close to a racist? If I feel like somebody is racist, I don't want nothing to do with you. If I feel like you're homophobic, I don't want anything to do with you. When I find that out, maybe I'll tolerate you, but at that point, I don't want anything to do with you. When I find out that you are MAGA, I don't want anything to do with you, sweetie. I may tolerate you, but you need to give me 50 feet on Paul. Give me 50 feet on Paul. You want to find your way back to a racist? I wish Carlos King, see, if I was interviewing Nene, I would have been like, well, didn't you say that Wendy Williams needed to drain her cankles. And didn't you say that, she was a crackhead? Did you say that Andy was an old crackhead racist? Do you believe that he's a racist? And if you do believe that he's a racist, why would you want to find your way back to a racist? Why would you want to be back close with a racist? Why would you want to be back friends with a racist? Unless you had to. Now, I could understand if it's like a family member. It's like, okay, you have to tolerate family members. And I could understand if it's like a child, okay? Some relationships, or like, I don't know, even a boss. I could understand tolerating a racist boss if you're still working for them. But after you're no longer working with them, right? You don't have to keep that relationship up. So why would you want to go back? I mean, I'm just saying. So my whole thing is, did you believe that he was a racist? Carlos King did not bring that up. And I just kind of like, listen, the interview was great. I loved it. They have great chemistry, and Nene really opened up and she talked about some things, and I thought it was amazing. They covered topics that I wouldn't even think to talk about, like Wendy Williams. That was great. They talked about Bryce. That was great in the first part. But I just want to get to the nooks and crannies. You did boycott the network. You did say that they was racist. So what is the true tea? And then what happened to the lawsuit? They're no longer in a lawsuit. There is no lawsuit, and child, there is no settlement. There is no settlement. Michelle A.T. Brown would have told us a long time ago if Nene settled with the network. And you want to know how I know they did not settle? Is because when they left her out of that title card back in season 15, I think it was like whatever episode that was, when Candy and Marlo got into that fight. And they, erased Nene. The Nene erasure is real, is what the girlies was saying on Twitter. And then Nene came back out on Twitter and said, I can't believe they can get away with this. And then she said, she be going back and forth. It's giving Jackal and Mr. Hyde. One day she goes, I can't believe they can get away with this. And then the next day she goes, I don't really care. I've moved on. I'm living a soft life. Okay. So all of that is great and dandy, but you want to be back close to a racist? I'm just a little bit confused at the situation. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about it. Let's see. She said that the show was starless. Ain't no stars on to the show. She says that Candy is overhyped and overpaid. She said that she lost her talk show deal after she called Wendy Williams Wendell. She says that she was blackballed. Nobody wanted to give her a podcast or a talk show. My whole thing is, why do you need a deal to do a podcast? Like, just start the podcast. And it doesn't make sense. Like in the instance of Wendy Williams, if you want to do a podcast and you don't know how to do a podcast, and she told Jason Lee, like, I don't even know what a podcast is. Well, if you want to do something and you don't know what to do, or if you don't know what it is, why don't you contact your best friend, Jason Lee, to help you do a podcast? Because Jason Lee has been doing podcasts before everybody had a podcast. If Nene wanted to do a podcast so bad, why wouldn't she call Carlos King, who has a successful podcast, and try to get some advice and try to get some connections and try to get her podcast set up? Newsflash, you don't need a podcast deal. Now, is it great as a celebrity to do a podcast deal because you already have a built-in audience? Of course. But if you wanted a podcast so damn bad, why wouldn't you just start it off independently, gain some clout, gain some hype, and then sell off the IP and get you a big-ass check over there at Spotify? I mean, that's what I would do. Do it independently. And then who are you trying to work with? Is you trying to work with iHeartMedia? Like, I feel like Nene is trying to work with these big white corporations. Go to a black podcasting network. There's two that I know of. I feel like she's trying to work with these big ass white corporations who are probably in cahoots with NBC Universal. Like, girl. But even then, you don't need a deal. You don't need a network to do a podcast. Do it yourself independently. Gain an audience independently. And then you can sell off the IP, or not even sell off the IP. You could just work out a deal with a podcasting network or a media company, and then they can help fund it. And, you did the first season of Housewives for $10K. you can start a podcast off for free and then earn $1 million a year later because the podcast done blown up. You need to start off at ground zero, boo-boo. I mean, I'm just saying. But she says that it's definitely deliberate, okay? That it is not a coincidence. Is it a coincidence? Is it a coincidence? Okay, she says it is not a coincidence. Not a coincidence that, that all of her podcast deals, she's had deals, plenty and many of deals for podcast shows and talk shows, but they all fall through because she feels as though she was blackballed and now she's starting to work again, which is great. I'm happy for her. And then at the very end, they start crying and stuff like that, which I thought was really sweet. And Carlos was giving Nene her flowers, which I thought was amazing. I love that moment. And so Carlos was like, anything that you have going on with Bravo and Andy, y'all can work it out. It's not that deep, this, that, and the third. And listen, again, never say never. I feel like anything can be worked out. But for me personally, if I had a relationship with somebody and we fall out and then you go and trash me trying to ruin my reputation, it's not working it out for me. That's just my opinion. But would I love to see Nene work with Bravo again? Absolutely. Do I think it'll happen? I'm not sure. She did a dream cast. Portia, Candy, Marlo, Kenya, Drew. I'm sorry, that sounds like a flop. It's a flop. How Carlos King said, it's a chop. It's a chop. Courtney, is Courtney a chop? It's a chop. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about the situation. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to create a great day. Bye.